a few months ago and said we were then going to undertake an audit of those intersections and decide what could be done in various ways, including technology, including signage, including camera surveillance of those intersections and so on, to try and make them better. We now have back the results of the audit, and in addition to things like 24/7 construction and all the other things that I've mentioned, we are in a position where we have the beginnings of a game plan to address the traffic in those different intersections, including this one. And I'll mention to you what steps we're taking. And they're, again, preliminary steps. They're not meant to represent an absolute total solution, but I think they're all things that can make the traffic move better. I won't list off the intersections, even though they're here in my notes. I think you have them in your own notes that we provided to you. But I will say that in those intersections, as you can see from the backgrounder, we have begun the task of retiming the signals based on what we know from the data at every one of those intersections. We have begun the task of actually implementing technology, fairly straightforward technology that has to do with turning times and so on. We have installed signage that is reminding of motorists of the fact that pedestrian safety is number one and that they have to yield to pedestrians, of course. And we have started to take a look at some of these other measures that we can implement, including, in some cases, intersection reconfiguration, which obviously is going to take a slightly longer period of time. You will see from the background update that some intersections are further advanced than others in terms of this work being done. In this one that we're standing at here, 3 of the 4 things identified have been done already, and I'm gratified about that. I'll mention what they are in a moment. And the ones that are being held up a bit are basically being held up by the city's own procurement policies, and I'm not saying that in any critical way. It's just that we have to go through the process of procuring new technology, and I'll talk in a moment about the technology that will be, as the 4th of the 4 steps, implemented here next year. I will also say, and Miles is the unfortunate recipient of this now that he's acting in Steve Buckley's stead, that I have asked the staff with this list that you have in front of you this morning to accelerate that list if they possibly can. I take it at face value as being their estimate as to the best time at which they can get this work done, but I know there's always a faster way to do things, and so I've asked him to take a look at that because hotspots are hotspots, and that means time is of the essence in terms of getting this technology actually installed in this intersection and the others, and then moving on, quite frankly, to the next 10. Now, with respect to Victoria Park and Finch, there's a number of things that happen here, and it's one of the reasons why it ends up, based on data, not based on us picking, it ends up as one of the 10 hotspots in the city. The first is it's just a busy cross-section of 2 very busy streets, north-south and east-west, but the second is the proximity of this intersection to the Don Valley Parkway. And so when incidents happen on the parkway, as they will from time to time, this becomes one of those places where people will seek an alternate route, and that can change traffic conditions in a very short period of time. And so what we have done already, based on the audit and based on the action plan, is the following 3 of the 4 things that were identified that could be done in reasonably short order. First, a closed-circuit television camera has been installed at this intersection, which didn't exist before this work, and it's actually, you can see it right on the light standard up there. And you may say, well, what difference does that make? Well, I can assure you, and some of you I think have been to the Traffic Control Center on Don Mills Road, that where they have visibility into intersections, it helps them to notify drivers, because a lot of the traffic reports from the media rely on those television pictures. It also helps them to take steps. They literally, I learned this when I was there, can retime signals if there's an emergency going on, a particularly bad situation, right from that traffic control center. And so if they have visibility on an intersection like this, which has been identified as one of the 10 worst, that's going to help. Secondly, there has been implemented already a new afternoon peak hour signal timing plan to help keep traffic flowing. The data and the observation and the audit of this intersection, Victoria Park and Finch, helped to identify places where the traffic was being particularly congested, and I think it's on the east-west flow that it was particularly bad, and they've changed the timing of current, somewhat antiquated signals, and they've done what they can with the existing technology to improve that. Thirdly, and it seems like a small matter, but I think for pedestrian safety it's a big matter, those yellow signs you can see back there that talk to cars or speak to cars cars and tell them they have to yield to pedestrians have been put in, because with a lot of the turning pressures that exist from the east-west to the north-south, it was more dangerous than it should be for pedestrians, and the signage is there to remind pedestrians that remind drivers rather that they have to yield to cyclists and pedestrians, and so those signs are installed. There will be an eastbound left turn advanced green during peak periods by the beginning of next summer, and that will be installed. And then finally, this intersection will be one of those, because it's a hotspot, that will be included in our test of the new technology I've talked about. And to give you an example of how that will work, the whole basis of this new technology that we're in the midst of procuring right now is that it actually, rather than using sensors that are in the pavement, it actually picks up the traffic flow by itself and takes account of that and changes the signals on a real-time basis based on the traffic flow. But the other thing it will do is it'll be hooked right into the conditions on the parkway, for example, and when there's an incident on the parkway, it will instantly be able to make a change itself in the signaling here to take account of the fact there may be a lot of traffic flow either north-south or, for that matter, east-west, of people getting off the parkway. And so, as I said, the only reason that lies behind our inability at this precise moment not to put that technology in is the fact that the procurement process is taking a little bit of time, and it's not been unduly delayed. It's just taking time because it's new technology, and we want to make sure that we get it right. So I'm really just here today to reassure the people that with the hard work of the city staff and the support of local councillors, we are working on these 10 hotspot intersections. You will see, in all honesty, that from the background sheet, some are more advanced than others. In this case, 3 of the 4 measures have been implemented here. There are other places where we have more catching up to do, but we will do that. I'm having regular discussions with Miles and his colleagues about making sure that we keep this moving as quickly or quicker than it is moving today. And we're going to do that because I think that if we have the technology at our disposal, we have the data at our disposal, we can do better. It's not going to eliminate traffic in the city, but it's going to make it flow better, which I think is something that people have right to expect. So on that note, I will say thank you to our city staff for the work they're doing. I'll say thank you to Shelley and other council colleagues who've supported these initiatives, and make myself available for your questions on this or anything else. Well, I think Miles will correct me if I'm wrong, but it's this technology that is producing a lot of the data we're looking at. Some of it's historic, but some of it is real time. And so we're already hooked in. That's where the data is coming from that we're getting. We don't have our own independent source of information. So it's from Waze, and it's from Google, and it's from others that we are getting the data that they're then able to use now to both identify intersections that are problematic like this, and then, of course, to take steps, as you've seen from the audit, to try and address it. Do you want to just talk?